My name is Chip Barber. I am the director of the Forest Legality Initiative at the World Resources Institute, which is a global environment and development policy think tank based in Washington, D.C., with offices in many countries around the world. I direct a program called the Forest Legality Initiative that focuses on combating illegal logging and promoting the legal trade in harvested forest products. We took on this issue about a year ago in cooperation with the U.S. Agency for International Development and some other partners to create the Forest Legality Alliance after the United States passed an amendment to the U.S. Lacey Act that made it illegal to import illegally harvested wood into the United States. This was a big change and quite a pioneering move in the world. Some other countries have followed in the years since then. But we have worked with the private sector, with non-governmental organizations, intergovernmental organizations, and various government agencies, not only in the US, but in Europe and a number of the tropical developing countries, to try and create better awareness of the importance of combating illegal logging and trying to support compliance through supply chains. Why is this a big problem? I mean, it's obviously an environmental problem when people are illegally cutting down the tropical rainforests, but it also affects people's livelihoods on the ground. It has a very corrosive effect on the rule of law in a lot of places, and it undercuts legal producers of wood here in the United States and elsewhere. So it's a difficult problem, and one of the reasons that it's a difficult problem to address is that it is an illegal activity embedded in an entirely legal sector. There's nothing wrong with using wood. Obviously, there's a complete legal system out there for producing, harvesting, processing, and buying and selling wood all over the world, forest products. And the illegal activities get embedded into that. Things get laundered into that system. Money coming out of it gets laundered through various kinds of financial crimes. It's difficult to pick all that apart. And it's particularly difficult because often in some of the producing countries for tropical timber, but not just tropical timber, we see this in some of the Eastern European countries as well, there is a lot of corruption associated with this whole process. And it's embedded deeply into complicated systems that, average enforcement people have a hard time understanding, particularly when it gets into financial crimes and things like that. So whistleblowers are super important, and having the provisions that both enable them to bring forward information and protect their anonymity and their security are super important. Sometimes the only way into these very organized systems. So the work that the Whistleblowers Center does is extremely important as far as we're concerned. We have partnered with them on a number of things to try and show that this body of law, this body of policy is really important in the forest sphere, as has also been done, as you've heard, in the wildlife sphere. I would add, I guess, that we're seeing a lot of convergence amongst different crime types. And by convergence, I mean that those who commit forest crime, or after timber, high value timber, rosewood, mahogany, and things, they aren't picky. They will also trade in animal parts and wildlife. And they may be involved in illegal gold mining. This is very much true in a lot of parts of the Amazon. They also get involved in a lot of kinds of crime that are associated. These might be the predicate offenses, as you'd say in law, but then you've got fraud, money laundering, a whole range of things, the falsification of export and import papers, and things like that. And often that is the best, most practical way to go after those who are engaged in the actual crimes, because you don't want to really punish necessarily the people whose hands are on the chainsaw, as they say. They, are often people without many alternatives, and some are forced into doing these things, and others are just, it's the only way to make a dollar. You want to go after the people who are actually managing the system and really profiting from it higher up in the chain, and sometimes those are powerful people. And so whistleblowers are really important. And on this day, when we honor and try to more deeply understand why whistleblowers are important, I just want to close by saying that this is really important if you care about forests, if you care about their biodiversity, if you care about the indigenous peoples and local communities who depend on them, if you care about their role in mitigating climate change, that we need to deal with illegality in the forest sector because it's a fundamental barrier to sustainably managing our forest resources around the world. And what whistleblowers are doing is really, really important in allowing us the opportunities and the tools in order to do that. Thanks.